candidates, please. Sorry.
Okay, we'll come on to those in a minute. Okay, this is all candidates. Should SLSs be run by the same? Should SLSs be run the same way as normal societies?
And Chris wants to first, please.
An SLS is a student-led service, for those of you that didn't know that. It's such as mediation, which I am the service manager of currently. But should they be run the same way as societies? We have committees in SLSs, you have 6 committees in societies. They are essentially the same, but they have different aims. Societies aim for their group of their activity, whereas SLSs have the aims to better other people's lives and make benefits to other people's. So, in some ways yes, but in others no. Sorry.
I think Chris was right with his yes and no. Like, I think when it comes to constitutions and the political side of things, I think they should be as accountable as every other society. But I don't think they should come under the same budget. I think there should be a separate budget just for student-led services, because their needs are different and their finances need to be different to acknowledge the fact that they are providing a service.
Andrew, will start next, please.
I think student-led service is always going to be a bit different because, like Chris said, you're focusing on making lives better for other people, not just for your society. But I think you have to recognise and take account of how the society actually works, because different societies operate differently. You've got different student-led services, they operate differently. I think it's the responsibility of the BP Finance and Activities to support both societies and the SLSs to make sure that they can run in the best way to meet their aims best. And whether it's by funding or by giving them better resources, however it's done, we need to make sure that every society can run in the best way for them.
I think they should be run the same, to be honest. Every society should get a fair chance to the same room allocations if needs be, especially when it comes down to funding. This year funding was all over the place, and it's something that I'd kind of like to look forward to and like changing if I get the position. They should be looked at differently, but the funding essentially should be the same.
Next, please.
Not to sound like a broken record, but for me again the answer is yes and no. Societies and SLSs look very similar, but they are quite different creatures. They do have different needs and they do have different aims. So, I mean, starting off with funding, a big part of it does believe that SLSs should have priority access to at least some of the funding, simply because of how they operate. But unfortunately, you can't just lump into SLSs and societies. They've all got to be taken on a case-by-case basis because every society, every SLS is different. So, bad answer.
And finally,
again, to repeat the others, I think it is a yes and no answer. I've been on a society that has now student-led services, and I'm now a member of a student-led service now. And truthfully, yeah, they are running the same way, and they do contribute the same to students as a student-led services does. And I think student-led services also contribute and give so much more to students too. I do think what we should do is basically look into what needs override others, and actually look into what we can do to help societies and help student-led services. They both contribute so much, and they both deserve the same amount of attention.
Hello. Okay, next question. This is from Adam Lyons. I know that a large number of students, particularly first years, don't get as involved in societies as they may do purely because they are off campus. What would you do? What would you propose to increase or / encourage involvement among this demographic?
Can we start with Jenny, and can all candidates make sure they're speaking to the mic, please?
I think for a lot of societies that meet towards the end of the day, I think for students knowing that they can get home by the safety bus is a big thing. So a lot of the reasons that they don't come out is because they turn around and go, but I can't get home. I mean, you know, we meet on a Sunday night for concert band and we have that as a very big problem. But I think at the same time as well, perhaps, you know, being able to offer them some way of getting onto campus with somebody that they already know. You know, so if you're driving in from Silverdale and you know full well that a member of society is also driving in, encouraging, you know, committees and societies to actually almost car share on the way in, because I think that kind of connection and that commitment to pulling members in and to keeping hold of them is what's going to get societies through this next 12 months.
Any other Andrew, please?
One of my main policies, it's on my poster, it's on my leaflets, it's in my manifesto, it's on all over my Facebook profile, is to make sure that students can actually get home off campus, which means that we actually need a bus service to Silverdale and Nutton, because it's one of the main student housing areas, especially the bus route goes along the dual carriageway past Sainsbury's and KFC. There's a load of student houses down there. You have to walk into Newcastle and get a bus home. That's one of my main policies. It's achievable so long as union can help the university to show the bus companies there's actually enough need for it. And that's one of my main policies. That's what I'm going to get done, making sure people can not only get home from societies with the safety bus to serve the library, but also make sure students can actually get to Keele for their 9 a.m s instead of having to get 2 buses. Make sure that students can get to Keele to take part in societies. Make sure that students can actually get to Keele when they want. Make sure that the Keele bubble is for the students, not just the campus.
I don't think the problem is getting students on and off campus. I think it's getting them more actively involved. From my experience, students who want to be actively involved in a society will make the effort to come and they'll find a way to get onto campus. I think what we need to do is push to get more people involved in societies, getting them, whether it be through another fresh affair or just getting out there. We need to get more people actively involved.
I think there are essentially 2 problems that we need to face: awareness and availability. A lot of the first years I still find don't really know about societies that are going on. The only reason you get into a society after freshers there is if you make those. We need to be expanding on the Milky campaign, which was so successfully this year. We need to be making sure that it's marketed to off-campus students so that they know how things are going on and want to get involved and know that data sessions are going on and know that there's drop-ins where they can come and give it a go without having to worry about paying money or the rest. Availability, yes, we need to make sure that students are getting home at the end of the night. The bus service is terrible, but that's something we can deal with later on. Awareness and availability are 2 things.
I do think there is, again, 2 issues here. I think we need to make people more aware of societies outside Freshers' Fair and Refreshers Week. I do think we need to get societies more online and basically get societies out there. They need to be going out there and getting people to know what they're doing and how to get involved and make it more easy and a little more simple for them. I think the also problem is having lived off campus myself in my own first year. I know the difficulty is not just getting in but getting home, especially if there's no bus service. So I do think what we need to look into is maybe if societies can work with students who want to contribute but not necessarily don't know how to, and how can they help them do what they need to do without impacting on how they're going to get home.
And finally, Chris.
I think what we need to look at is the barriers of engagement into society, why people don't go to these events when they live off campus. But when we look at Freshers' Fair, it's really, really busy in here, and everyone's signing up. But then Refreshers' Fair, there's nobody really attends. The turnout is appalling. So we need to market the Refreshers' Fair more to get more people into society. societies. Where transport is an issue, my plans for the safety bus will combat that. My plans are extensive and they involve pickups and drop-offs. So yeah, basically getting people involved and making sure that they know about where things are, where they are, and what they are, and why they want to do them.
Another candidate, question given to all candidates. What would you do to develop your role with particular reference to the evolving nature of the finance portfolio?
Can we start with Andrew, please?
One of the main things that's happened this year is Alex Kell's worked to recruit member of staff to actually deal with all financial paperwork. I've dealt with a lot of financial paperwork. I was treasurer for an organisation for 2 years that had an annual budget of £100,000, and I worked with local council, so I know all about just how much just doing all the paperwork can really take time out of your day. And as part of that, I think that the VP Finance needs to develop a long-term financial strategy for KUSU, not just deal with the day-to-day stuff, but focus on ways to take advantage of the redevelopment of the Students' Union. Make sure that everybody wants to hang out in the ground floor of the Students' Union during lunch times instead of in councillors. Bring more money into the Students' Union, give the union more financially viable in the long term, and this will help to actually get more money into society as well.
Can we go back next, please?
Can you repeat the question, please? Nearly.
There we go. Right. The question was, what would you do to develop your role with particular reference to the evolving nature of the finance portfolio?
Okay, so the role speaks for itself, VP Finance and Activities. The SU have kind of run themselves like a business, and in a way it's good. I mean, there's money coming to the SU, but in a way it's bad because what it is to be a students' union, we kind of lose all the core elements. It's for students at the end of the day, and it's not just about getting money to the door, it's about making students happy at the end of the day. I kind of work with entertainment and everyone else in the building who, yeah, that's it.
Can we have Dave Thompson next, please?
Okay, I think historically finance activities has usually been about a 20 to 80% split in workload for the VP. Recently it's been really well, getting that up about 10 to 90. To us, I don't think that having you can't have a 1-year sabbatical officer who is expected to look after the entire finances of a multi-million-pound establishment like this. That's why there's a team of people in place to make sure that happens. What we can have is a change in do every year of someone who can put in place plans to develop the union over a short period of time, so that we can do things like encourage more students to take in places, jobs inside the union that they can do. And we can make sure it is a student union. Yes, it is a business. Yes, we need to try and make a profit, but we can't lose the fact that we keep the students. It's not the other way around.
I see the role of becoming more consultancy role, making sure that the students remain the priority in all financial activities, making sure that the students come first in anything that the finance department decides, making sure that every decision that is made, again, the students are thought of and decided that everything is in their best priorities. I think that what we should be looking at is basically making sure that even if you don't have as much input or as much actual role in activity in the actual role itself, all you have to do is make sure that people are thinking of the students and everything is done for the students, and that the students are always thought of first.
We're very lucky to have an absolutely fantastic commercial operations manager. He has a fantastic vision for what needs to happen in the long term. The job of VP Finance would be to liaise with him and other senior staff to ensure that the plans which you want in short term are completed, as well as ensuring the long-term development of the union. We have a fantastic finance department, which are very experienced staff, which take a lot of the workload off of VP Finance. But I agree with Dave, is that you can't have a group of trustees for 1 year who then look at and then changes every year. You need some full-time staff who will take on the responsibility in the long term.
And finally, Jane, please.
I think union finances are going to start getting scarier in the next 12 months, because obviously students are going to come in with more tuition fees, and we don't really know what, at the end of the day, we don't know what the input is going to be from them to the union finances. But the finance team here already are fantastic. They've been in this job for years. They know what they're doing, and the day-to-day, hits and misses they can cope with. But I think we need to start making longer-term plans, and actually, there's no reason why certain nights of the union can't be that bit bigger. Tuesday nights is just pool comp, so can we put some sport on in there as well? Pull some more people in, make some more money off a Tuesday night, and at the end of the day, that's just going to go back to the students. And I think that's the big thing with all of this. I think we've got to realise that no matter how much money we spend at the end of the day in here, we all benefit from it. Thank you.
Can we have the next question to all candidates, please?
We're actually going to move on to questions for individual candidates now. For Dave Plant, Chris Ruston, Ibby, I'm sorry, I'm getting last names on here. What specifically is your number one priority when it comes to making sure students fully benefit from the new union developments? Sorry? What specifically is your number one priority when it comes to making sure students fully benefit from new union developments?
Can Dave answer first, please?
Obviously the biggest change is going to be the new downstairs of the union. It's a fantastic space. I expect everyone here has seen all the plans coming up, and it's going to be so naturally formed. It's a meeting point for societies, for groups of people. It's been purposely designed so it's technically a very basic space. It's the furniture which is going to affect how it's built, and that furniture is easily moved around. We can easily move that furniture around so we can create separate sort of spaces within it. So we can easily section off a part of it for a small social for society, or we can open it up so there's a lot more seating. Or the options are many, varied, and they're forward. Things like that.
Can we have Ibby next, please?
I think what I'd like to use is the user downstairs development to get people out there, get people aware, use the space that we have and utilise it in a way that people can do what they want to do and not be prohibited by lack of space, or they can't go to this area or this other area is inaccessible. So I think what I'd like to see is basically students being able to utilise the space that they've got available, developing it, building on it, and getting out there, making more people aware of what they can do and how they can get involved as well.
And finally, Chris.
My main priority for the ground floor would be to make it a large, usable space. There's fantastic catering facilities going to be built. There's going to be chairs, seating areas, and a coffee shop. It'd be brilliant to make people able to come into the building and socialise within the ground floor, because at the moment there isn't anywhere really like that on campus. So that would be my number one priority.
Can we have further questions for individual candidates, please? Andy.
Sorry, guys. This question is also from Public Magazine. It's for Jenny, Joe and Andrew. Room allocation for societies can be quite difficult to manage. How would you go about making sure this is fair and every society is happy with the space they are given?
Can we have Jenny answer first, please?
I know that booking a room for societies at the moment is chaotic if you don't have a regular slot. And with regards to the paperwork trail, at the moment, because of the way that the union emails run, there is nothing that we can do about that. But hopefully once the emails get set up properly, there may be grounds there to hopefully minimise the amount of paperwork and the amount of form filling in that you need to do. With regards to the actual room allocation, it should be a first come, first serve. It's as simple as, and I know I've had a society come up to me and tell me that they were told they couldn't book a room because there might be an external booking for there that hadn't been made yet. And it's your building. It's only right that you get first dibs on it, and I think that's the way forward. You know, society's first come, first serve. If it happens to be booked out, then we'll try and find you something else somewhere else that suits your purpose.
Can we have Andrew answer next, please?
One of the things I'd like to do with the rooms is, now that the IAU and the job shop is going to be downstairs, I want to actually try use the IAU and everything where it is upstairs at the moment. I want to actually try get that into a dedicated society room, because there's individual offices for small societies, big open area, can be a good place for societies to meet up, possibly discuss any cross-society activity they might want to do. As practically booking rooms, it's never going to be perfect, but I think that the best way to do it is to implement a system where people are definitely going to need it, over where people might use it, or for one-off occasions. Regular slots should be maintained, but we also have to take account of when room allocations are going to have to change over time. Like one of my best friends in the dance society, you do regular things every week. But then in the lead up to the dance show, which they're doing later this time, we need longer hours and more often. So we also need to implement a flexible system, ideally online, so everyone can see it straight away, to actually help different societies take account of the way that different societies operate differently.
And finally, please.
I've actually got experience from the room booking fiasco in Kiel. At a drop of a hat, Poker has had to move from Blueprint and have to move all their stuff over into K2 just like that. And personally, I think it's just unnecessary and a bit out of order. We're students, we deserve to be in here first. If we book the place, you should get that room. I'd like to see student bars getting more involved in societies with room allocations. I know Templar has a huge room in the back that's hardly ever used and crap used forward all the time. It would be good to see them being used further.
Okay, next question is for Chris Rust. Your safety bus plans are great, but having the changes, to the policies and the digital the digital sign sound expensive. How are you going to plan to fund these changes?
That long question has a simple answer, but I'll take each point of my manifesto to the safety bus separately and tell you how I'm going to fund them. So firstly, the 24-hour library. The plan would be that the safety bus would be implemented in that to run throughout the night. I've spoken to Marilyn Andrews, who's the Pro-Vice Chancellor of Learning and Student Experience, and she's very keen for the student union to get involved. We've got the resources, and she's willing to discuss next year the finances for the safety bus. The university already provides the funding for the safety bus, so she's willing to talk about extending that funding to implement the 24-hour library, because at the end of the day, it's in their benefit as well. Another point is that pickup from centralised student locations off campus. Between 9 and 11, the safety buses are sat out on the car park with the drivers sat in them, being paid without doing a lot. Using that time effectively and efficiently to go off campus to pick people up and bring them to the union, to the library or where they want to go, will ensure that they're brought here safely, and that's what it's for. And I think that'll be a great service that we can offer without costing an awful lot more. The digital display was an idea which I had because it's annoying when you're on a night out and you want to know when the safety bus is, where it's going to be, what time it's going to get back. Each safety bus is fitted with a tracker. We can then tell where those buses are, when it's on its way back, and what time it'll be back. The digital display system, the software is in place. It literally just needs a screen put on the wall and a cable plugged into it. So that's how I function.
The next question is for Andrew Willits. Your history of activism and campaigning at KUSU has been populated with frequently long monologues, speeches with no clear message, and questions that don't ever end. In short, do you have the capacity to be concise?
Yes.
This question is for Ibby. We already have an ENTS forum. Why would an ENTS committee be better than this, as surely an ENTS forum allows different people to attend, whereas committee only gives the views of a few? Is this not a move in the wrong direction?
For me, an entertainment committee is basically making sure that people are able to get the person they want to at a time that suits them. With one person being in charge of representing all people's views for entertainment, sometimes it's very hard to get what you want to say across. There's only one person listening to you. Having a team of people who will go out there and get the views and do what needs to be done for the students, I think will make sure that it's fair and easy and it has a lot more shared responsibility. We do have entertainment forums and they are very good and they do what they're supposed to be doing. But I do think outside of entertainment forums, we do need people going up there and supporting the students and making sure that they can't do what they need to do at the university. They can do it from home or they can send an email and know that at the end of the day someone will be sat there listening to them. Thanks.
This question is for Dave. In my first year, nights out at the union were amazing. In my second, they were dead, and now I'm in my third year, it's picked up again. You said you wanted to make union nights better. Do you think it is possible, or do you think it depends on the intake of students?
Okay, obviously it's going to depend dramatically on who we have at KUSU as to how we can put a good match on for them. But yeah, it's easily possible. I've been at KUSU for far too long. And I've seen some bloody good nights out of uni. I mean, only a few years ago, every Wednesday and every Friday, I had a queue stretching to the middle of the campus. I'm assuming that question was from Dodge, but she has been very similar online. The problem is that a few years ago, although we had very good attendance, we had a very boring night. Every Wednesday night project was essentially the same. At midnight, you would hit the button, and the same players would play us out till the end of the night. Great fun, but dull as hell, and that would be why that failed. The trick, I think, is going to be bringing back more variety and more live events. I know off the cuff from the old comedy club has sparked a bit of debate, and that might be something to look into, at least a monthly thing. There's obviously some profitable ones running in stone. We can't survive on just throwing out another night at union. Every night at union should be something spectacular that gets people want to attend, spend their money, and so we can have a better student night out forever. Yeah. And more live events, not just people playing DJ sets through NSYNC.
This question is to Joe Robinson. How can the SLSs be part of the union if they don't have full union funding? The media-based SLSs are there to provide services the union can't to every member. It's different to societies that they are there for specific activities. Do they not deserve priority union funding if the whole union uses them?
What I was saying earlier is that the societies and the SLS should have the same funding. They shouldn't necessarily be split, like all the societies should get the majority of the funding and then the minority of the funding should be set back for the SLS. I think it should be fair. They do a great job, and I mean, the whole student life is about being fair, and yes, the funding should be a fair system. If a lot of people have signed up to it, then more priority funding should be allocated. Special grants should also be coming into this.
Are there no further questions for individual candidates? Each candidate now has the opportunity to ask one other candidate a question, and we'll go in order of plus, please. So Chris first. Okay. Jenny? Andrew? Joe?
This is to Chris. You mentioned earlier that your the kind of 24-hour library bus will pick up individuals. Don't you think this is a bit of a waste of funding and petrol to pick up individual people from off campus?
Within my manifesto, it states centralised locations in student-dense locations. So we're talking pick up from Newcastle bus station, maybe in Shelton, maybe in Silverdale, wherever that we find there are the most amount of students there. So that's what I meant.
No, I'm sorry. Dave? And Ibby? Okay, thank you very much.